Hey guys, welcome to another shop update. I'm going to get right into it. As you can see, the wood is behind me stacked up, and that's how the video is going to start out. I'm actually going to do some more on the truck, and I've got it pretty well as videoing this introduction. I've got it pretty well roughed out. I'm ready to take it off the truck and make a couple of last welds on it and start getting it painted. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the wood. Going to show you the shrinkage that happened to the wood on my trailer. I've got a new thing in the shop. It's not new, but for you Vice guys, the collectors of Vices, you're probably going to be pissed at me. Anyways, there's that and some other things that are going on. I am going to show you some pictures and explain to you about a haul that I had to make down to Texas, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania. It involved, the trip down to Texas involved a Monarch Lathe directly from the Monarch Factory. So any of you guys that are machinists, maybe you'll be interested in that. Anyways, let's get started. Okay, so this is the wood. I've taken it off of the trailer and brought it into the shop. Now, this isn't all of it. I've still got 5 or 6 more planks on the trailer. This is actually the next day from when I got it. What I did is disconnected the trailer, put the trailer back where it usually sits, and disconnected it so that I could go get lunch and stuff. And what I'm doing is running down there with a forklift, sticking it on the forklift. Now I can't get it through the door, but what I do is park it just outside the door and carry it in. Okay, the last shop update, I told you that these boards probably weighed between 80 and 90 pounds apiece. That isn't correct at all. There's probably some of them that do, like this small board. This narrow board probably weighs that. I gotta tell you, those 12 footers that are like 8 or 9 inches wide probably weigh in the neighborhood of 120, 130 pounds a piece. I know, because it was a little bit of a struggle to carry them in here, and I have those weights off of the tractor. They're 100-pound plates off of the tractor, and I can carry them back and forth across the shop with absolutely no effort. Now, granted, it's a longer board, a 12-foot board that you're trying to balance, carrying it across, but these things are heavy. So I don't have a scale here, but I'm going to say the bigger ones, the 12-footers, with 9 foot or 9 inches wide or 8 inches wide, whatever they are, they vary a little bit. Do weigh in the neighborhood of probably 120, 130 pounds. I'm gonna bring the rest in. I've got a fan that I set up. The Amish guy says, I asked him how long it would take to dry this wood out, and he says, probably a year. But he says it depends on where you put it, and I says, well, it's gonna be in the shop, and he says, if you put it in the shop, you're going to get the major shrinkage out of it within a month. But it's going to take a while for it to completely dry out. He says put a fan on it too, and that'll help it. But anyways, let me shut you off, and I'll start bringing the rest of it in. Okay, just as part of a little shop update. I live in the village, and every couple of months on the second Thursday of the month or third Thursday of the month, they have a large trash pickup. So I live in an apartment or a two-family house. There's a woman that lives upstairs. Actually, she moved out because she didn't move out. She let her kids, her son and his girlfriend, stay in the apartment upstairs, and well, she tended to her sick father, which has subsequently died. But anyways, the kid threw this out on the last large trash pickup. It's a Reed Vise, made in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's a number 204. So I'm going to assume that 4 is a 4-inch jaw. Yeah, 4-inch jaw. It's got a swivel base on it. Little surface rust on it, but it looks like it'll shine up. One of the things is it's got the original handles on it. Those handles are both for the swivel base and the vise itself. The handles are original. The serrations in the jaws look like they're in pretty good shape too. Yeah, it's pretty good. Adam, if you're watching it, missed out, buddy. Okay, so after the haul, I'm back on the truck, just welding it out. Now, originally I told you that I was going to just weld out the main parts of it, what I could get to easily on the truck, just like weld up one side of this, and do that on the same way on the outside angle irons, and then pick it up with a lift and finish welding it out there. But the wood is kind of in my way, and I need to move that entire stack of wood to get it out. Now, originally, what I was thinking about coming in this weekend, picking it up with a forklift. I was going to band it together so that it wouldn't, those 2x4s wouldn't tip over and it collapse kind of down on itself. But what I was going to do is pick it up with a forklift and set it outside because it was sunny. Only to realize I can't get it out through the door. I could get it out through the door lengthwise, but I can't get it out through the door widthwise. So that wood is in the way and it's got to be moved. So what I decided to do is just kind of weld out the rest of the welds on the truck, because of the wood and because I know when it's sitting on the truck, it's not going to be racked or anything else like that when I'm welding out the rest of the welds. So what I did is just did that, welded the other side of them, welded these on both sides. Now, what I am doing, and let me show you one here. I'm starting to weld up the side of the tube too so that it gives more support to this angle iron on the side, because the D-rings and those brackets, channel brackets that are going to be welded on here for the straps, it will provide extra support for that. I cut the pieces to form this also, and they're over on the welding bench, and the only reason I haven't put it on is because I have to take the welder back over to the welding bench to weld it out over there. Or I would have it on over here. Well, I'm close with the welder. But anyways, it's coming. I got to tell you, it's a lot of welding. A lot of welding. Probably by the time that I'm done with this thing, there's probably going to be 20 or 30 pounds of welding rod or welding wire into this, just into the welds on this thing. But it's coming along. Gonna pull it back in Monday. I don't know whether I'm gonna leave it in the shop here overnight or take it out, and I'll pull it back in Monday and continue to work on it. The wood is drying out a little bit. See, I've still got what I got to do is bring the welder around on this side and weld out the back side of all of these tubes onto the I-beam, and the same way with the tubes that are on here. Every other one is not welded, so what I do is I've done it in the back. What I do is go through with a C-clamp, clamp them down so that they're good and tight, and then weld them out. But anyways, just coming along. The wood is drying out. Hell of a lot easier to pick up now than it was originally when I got it. But it is drying out. I've threw a tape measure on it, and it looks like it's only shrunk down about 1/16 of an inch widthwise. It looks like the same. It's stayed pretty much the same height-wise. Again, you know, you're throwing it on. The boards kind of vary from board to board width-wise. So you got to find one that's. He cut a lot of them 8 inches wide, nominal size. So I try to pick them to measure it off of, for how much shrinkage is going on with it. I really want to get it dried out pretty substantially. So when I put it on the truck, and I know it's going to happen, but I want to kind of keep this to a minimum of happening. Is what happens is you put it on the truck, and then over time, like a year or so, the boards shrink up and there's a gap in them. And it happened with my trailer. The boards were pretty tight when I first got the trailer, but this summer it seems like they dried out and there's a gap in them. But anyways, that's what's going on. I'm just walking down here to the trailer. I had discussed the oak planking on the truck and me not wanting to put it on too soon where it's going to shrink a lot. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Now, you might not think this is bad, the planking on the trailer, the gaps in it. But you got to understand, this is pressure treated lumber that comes out of well, I'm not sure where the trailer manufacturer buys it, whether they buy it directly from like Weyerhaeuser or somebody, but probably more than likely it comes out of like Home Depot or Lowe's or some supplier like that. But this wood is pressure treated and it's been kiln dried, and it still shrinks up. So that's what I'm trying to avoid as much as possible, because again, that oak hasn't been kiln dried. It just came from the Amish. Okay, we're gonna kind of kill two birds with one stone here. As you can see, the wood pile has been moved. It's no longer in the under by the lift. It's back over here out of the way. I still got to move that steel by the lift so that I can get the truck backed in there. I'm probably going to back the truck in this afternoon and do a little more work on it. Take that plate, or that 8-inch wide plate right there, and get it in the bandsaw to start cutting it up to make the pieces that are going to fit on the front for like the bump stop rail on the front of it, to keep material shifting and going into the cab. Anyways, as I had said in my last shop update and mentioned in this video, I had to make a road trip in between here. I ended up going to Ohio and picking up a lathe for a guy in Texas at Monarch Lathe in Ohio. It's in Sydney, Ohio, and I went there and picked it up. Now, because I was picking it up, I didn't ask the guy. He had it crated because he wanted me to tarp it. So I didn't want to tarp over a bare machine. I wanted it kind of crated or a framework built around it so that the tarp would stay straight and even and not get rips. Tarps are very easy to rip on uneven surfaces or sharp surfaces on anything as you're driving like 70 miles an hour down the road, regardless of the point. So I picked it up. It was actually a used machine that Monarch had rebuilt and sold to him. There's kind of a backstory about this Monarch plant. It used to encompass the entire block, and now it's down to probably a quarter of the block. And there is a potential for them going out of business as far as producing new lathes or rebuilding lathes. Somebody might keep the place open. This is all speculation on the worker's part that loaded the lathe onto my trailer for me. They potentially have a contract with the Defense Department to build like 12 new lathes for the Navy, but it's still not signed deal yet. So if that happens, they're probably got about another year and a half's worth of work that they know of. So if nothing comes along after that, there's a very good possibility they may go out of business. But somebody might keep it open for parts for the Monarch lathes, but I'm not really sure. Again, it was all speculation. Anyways, I'll put a pick over there of the lathe on the truck and me tarping it. More pics and pics over there. But anyways, I had to take it down to Texas. I had to pick up one of those generators that I had left behind before because these things were so massive. They're tow behind generators, but I picked them up, put them on the trailer, and they are extremely massive. So I had left one down in Godley, Texas, and I had to pick up that generator after I dropped off the lathe. But dropping off the lathe was another story. Even with Google Earth, I use Google Earth a lot to try and figure out basically if I can get into a place and be able to turn around, or how I'm going to get into a place to load or unload things. And I kind of looked at this location on Google Earth, and I didn't really get a good representation of how narrow the driveway was getting into this place. I had issues getting in. He tried to take me in through a gate of a pasture, but because of the ditch configuration outside of the gate and the narrowness of the gate, I couldn't get a good enough angle to get in. The road was very narrow outside front of the place. It was basically almost a one-lane road with ditches on each side of it. So there was no space to make a big swing to get a straight shot into it. So I tried to an angle approach to this gate, but I couldn't get it. Even the road wasn't wide enough to get enough of an angle to get straight enough to go. I got it. The only way I could get the angle was I would have taken out one of the posts on the side. Anyways, make a long story short, I finally got into this place. He told me to drive through this pasture. Now, it was raining. He says, well, we're in the middle of a hurricane. To me, it wasn't a hurricane. It was raining. There was a hurricane that came up out of the Gulf into Texas. I think it was, the name of it was Beta or something like that. He said it was a hurricane. It was raining. There was no winds or anything, and it really wasn't raining that bad. But what the problem was, he had a shop, had a little stoned pad out in front of the shop, and then it dropped off out into this pasture. He says, well, I drive over this pasture all the time. It's really solid. Well, it was solid. The only problem was it's like clay. And as soon as I got down into that pasture, and just remember, I've got an 8,000 pound trailer and there was 6,000 pound lathe sitting on top of it. Once I got down into that pasture, my tires started spinning on that clay, and once it broke through that grass, it was just pure clay, and it didn't sink down a lot. It was clay, it was pretty firm clay, but it was slick as snot, and the tires just spun. So we ended up having to get a wrecker to get me back out of this pasture, and also to unload the lathe off of my trailer, because there was no way the wrecker could have got me backed up so that I could have backed into the shop where he wanted to unload it with a gantry crane. I'm not sure if the gantry crane would have unloaded this lathe to begin with, but regardless of the point, the tow truck unloaded the lathe off of my trailer, and then we were able to set it in. I'm going to show you some pics over there of the issue there. But then after I got done with this, that I had to go over to Godly, Texas, pick up that generator, and then went up to Oklahoma City and picked up another generator and took them to Pennsylvania. But I just kind of wanted to share that with you. So that's kind of why not a lot of progress has been made on the truck. I had that road trip that I had to make, but I'll bring you back. So just a little update on the trailer bed. Truck bed. Again, I've been the last couple of days, or last day and a little bit this morning, I've been kind of just welding out some of the things as I had discussed in a previous clip. Instead of taking it off and welding it out on the hoist or the lift, I just left it on the truck bed and am going to weld out as much as possible. One of the things is where the chain and binder rack is going to go. I had a piece of 2-inch channel iron. It's 2 inches deep, 7 inches wide. And I stuck that in there, and am going to use that as a base of the supports for the base of the supports for the chain and binder rack. So in other words, I'm going to have angle iron, and what I'll do is I'll weld it out all the way around it on the bottom, just so it's a little bit stiffer. I might even put a gusset in there on both sides just to assure that it's going to be very stable. But it should be. There shouldn't be any issue with it as long as it's, I think it's 4-inch or 3-inch angle iron, and it'll be welded out on every side. But just a brief update. Okay, so what I did was put the two posts, let's call them, it's angle iron, heavy wall angle iron, is 1/4 inch thick angle iron. I put them up for the stanchions, let's call them, the stanchions of the chain binder rack. Now, I just got a strip of metal going across, holding it in position, because two things. I don't think I actually have the steel, but the steel has to be machined. Notches have to be put into it to fit the chains and the binders. So I've got to machine that and then put it on, weld it on afterwards. But I got the other bump out over there, like this one that goes around. Again, there's that channel iron that's sitting there. That's going to be the inner part of the framework. So there's going to be that plate steel that's laying there on the floor is going to surround this entire thing. just like a kind of a bump stop in case something shifts forward. Now, as I had said before, I'm kind of in an annoyed mood. I was supposed to have a FedEx package that was supposed to have been delivered today, and FedEx went by, their truck went by, and no package. So here is that other bump out. So again, that plate steel, what I'm going to do, it's 8 inches high, so it goes from the bottom up, and I'm going to taper it down so that it's the same width as this thing is. But then all the surrounding areas will all be 8 inches high, 8 inches from the bottom of here, so it'll stick up 6 inches above the tube steel. Yeah, but there it is. So now what I've got to do, figure out what the hell I can do with this wood so that I can get this off of the truck and painted. There is a couple of welds that I've still got to make out or finish out, but painted and then put back on. I've still got to figure out what I'm going to do with the rear. Needs to be a plate that goes down through there, probably with some lights in it. There could be a couple of lights hanging off this. It'll probably come down, maybe taper in, up, back up. Couple of lights. It's not going to be those lights. They're probably going to be the recessed lights that will go into it. But then maybe I'm going to have a couple of lights over here. But down there has to stick down off of it a bumper that is a maximum of 3 feet off of the ground. So just a piece of probably channel iron, something like that. Could be tube steel. I haven't decided what I'm going to use for that yet, or the exact design of it. What I'm going to do is I'll throw a couple of links, pics and pics over here, and show you. There was a truck that I saw, and I was just kind of shot a picture of the way that they had their mud flaps mounted. I'm not going to go to the expense of getting, like, there's a company called Hogue that makes brackets for mud flaps, and I'm not going to go to that expense. Just put some kind of it might even might run another piece of tube steel across here and hang off of maybe some chains down. But if you notice in the pics, there's like a wire, let's not call it a wire, let's call it a rod bracket that goes down and holds the mud flap from going wild there. Just kind of holds it in place. But anyways, there it is. Bring it back. Okay, here I am at the lift, and as you can see, that wood has been moved. As I discussed or kind of mentioned in the clip about the haul that I had to make, I've got this seal that I've got to move. The plate steel is going to go over to the band software to be cut up, and I'm either going to cut that in half or slide it under the haul truck to get it out of the way. But there's that wood pile over here out of the way so that I can get the truck in on that lift so that I can pick that bed up off of it. But anyways, that's going to do it for this update, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, share it, leave a comment.